morning. Record. But for today's class, we'll actually start laying down on our backs. So if you want to just lay down on your backs while I talk a little bit to begin, you can get comfortable there, or you can sit with me for a minute or two in a comfortable seat. You can kneel or sit cross-legged. You can sit up on a pillow or a folded blanket. I like to have knees and hips at about the same level, or like hips higher than your knees. But this week's Come Follow Me is about Joseph Smith's Visitations from Moroni and Doctrine and Covenants section 2, which is Malachi's promise about the return of Elijah and priesthood keys and turning the hearts of the children to the fathers and the hearts of the fathers to the children. And here we are just to move our bodies, right? To connect with our bodies. And I had a realization a few years ago, really having a lot of dissatisfaction with my body. Getting upset that I was getting older, and as I age, I look more and more like my mom and my grandma. And, softness in my belly and my hips and thighs getting bigger, and having a realization that, you know what? Hating my body is hating my grandma. I don't think there's anything wrong with my adorable, round grandma. And as I read this morning section 2 and thought of turning our hearts to the fathers and the hearts of the fathers to the children, right? These physical bodies that we have are our direct link to those fathers. In really literal ways, we are made of them. And in the shape of our toes, and often in the habits that we have and the way our voice sounds, those are direct links to those ancestors that have come before. And we are able to do things with these physical bodies that we have right now that they can't do. We have bodies so that we can go to the temple. We have bodies so that we can experience these bodies as temples. And so that's my invitation to you as we move our bodies, is to think about that connection that you have, that your body, this physical body, gives you to those who have come before and to the children and those who come after you. So if you're not there already, go ahead and lay down on your back. And you can have your knees bent, feet flat on the floor, or you can let your legs go long. Just kind of pay attention to whatever feels best for your lower back. And bring your hands just right to your lowest ribs. And then see if you can relax your face and your shoulders. And just feel yourself breathe here. See if you can invite your breath in and out of your nose. And we'll start to find some rhythm with our breath. So take an exhale, we'll exhale all together. And then inhale to a count of 1, 2, 3, 4, and pause. 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, and pause. 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Pause, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Pause, 2, 3, 4. See if you can keep going with that rhythm, with that even inhale, even exhale, in and out of your nose. And breathe into that place at the lowest ribs, right where your diaphragm is. And as you inhale, you can think of letting your diaphragm expand into the floor underneath you and into your hands on your lower ribs. And as you exhale, you can feel everything drawing back toward the center. Notice if you're bringing any tension into your chest or your shoulders or your throat. See if you can relax those places. Just take one more round of that breath. And then release your hands and just bend your knees if they're not already, feet flat on the floor. And we'll find small movements of your pelvis. So think of really pushing your lower back down into the floor and lifting your tailbone. And then gently tipping your tailbone and pubic bone toward the floor and making more space under your lower back. And just rock back and forth here. So as we move, we'll we'll move and find some stability in our hip joints today. That's the focus of our movement. And we'll enter it from different positions, but start to feel the relationship of your pelvis to your femur bones as you tuck your tailbone under and as you tip your pelvis forward and exaggerate that lower back curve. And just do one more of those really subtle, small movements. And then we'll start to let it get bigger. So push your lower back into the floor, lift the back of your pelvis up, and then see if you can lift just the bottom vertebrae and maybe the next. So just the very bottom 2 vertebrae, and then lower those down one at a time and come back to a neutral spine and pelvis. And then we'll make that a little bit bigger. So push your lower back into the floor. Lift your tailbone, lift to the back of your pelvis, your sacrum. Lift your lower 4 vertebrae. See if you can do it one at a time. And then lower those down one at a time. And now just move at your own pace, gradually lifting just 1 or 2 vertebrae more each time you lift. Right, this back can be out of sight, out of mind for us, but we do have all of these little bones that we can learn to articulate. And part of it is just rewiring our brain to remember, oh yeah, I have a spine that's a whole bunch of little pieces. Let's see if maybe you can lift all the way up to your shoulder blades and lower down. And try to do it as gradually as possible. For many of us, right, our brain thinks maybe we have 2 vertebrae or we have 3 vertebrae, right? Our back just moves in chunks. But it takes practice and awareness. And the more we pay attention, we increase our agency and our ability to move in our body. Next time you come up, you can just pause and hold. Keep your gaze just up at the ceiling. And then gradually lower yourself down and take your feet and just step them about 1 footprint away from you. And then lift your hips, and you can lift up to your shoulder blades. It's a different experience, probably in the backs of your legs and your glutes. Lower down and Step your feet away one more footprint. So toward the foot of your mat or your space. Push into your feet, lift your hips. Different experience in the backs of your legs. We're just turning on our hamstrings. You might feel different things in your glutes and your ankles. One more footprint away, but this time your toes will probably need to stay lifted. Just ground your heels into the floor. Lift your hips. Any amount, right? It might not even be visible that you lift. Now let your legs get straight. Push into your heels, flex your feet, and lift your hips maybe here. You can draw your shoulder blades together. Turn on that whole back body, and then release. Bend both of your knees back to where you started. And just lengthen your right leg up toward the ceiling. Flex through your foot. Bend your knee, and then just push your foot away so your heel's hovering over the floor. You've got a straight right leg. And then lift that straight right leg straight up toward the ceiling. Bend your knee, and then push your heel away. So it's kind of like a bicycle pedal. Just do one more time here. And then from a straight hovering leg, bring your knee into your chest and lengthen it up toward the ceiling. And then straight leg comes down to hover. Knee into your chest, heel toward the ceiling, straight leg to hover. Knee into your chest, foot up toward the ceiling. And now I want you to look at your knee and your toes and externally rotate right from your hip joint. So you'll turn those toes to the right. And now turn them in toward the midline. So like your femur bone, your hip socket is just moving right in the socket. Your leg is one piece. And just pivot. External rotation, internal rotation. External rotation, internal rotation. Do that one more time with a straight leg. And then bend your knee at a 90-degree angle. And now externally rotate, so you'll bring your knee to the right, heel to the left, and then internally rotate. Knee to the left, heel to the right. And just go back and forth there. We're using that strength and all those little muscles that articulate around your hip socket. Now find your external rotation and just cross your right ankle over your left thigh, just right underneath your knee. Flex through that right foot. Draw your shoulder blades together, push into your left heel. Try to keep your pelvis level and lift your hips. And find your bridge pose here with this figure 4 leg. Lower your hips down. Reach your arms overhead, so alongside your ears, and just drop the same configuration of your legs. You're not going to change your legs at all. Just drop it over to the left and stomp your foot down. And you can engage and lengthen through that whole right side. So kind of push your right knee away from you. And then come back to center. Uncross your legs, just move your arms to a comfortable place alongside of you and lengthen that left leg up toward the ceiling. Bend your knee into your chest and then push that heel so your straight leg hovers above the floor, and then straight leg lifts back up toward the ceiling. So we're just doing these pedal motions with the other leg. But see if you can really move slowly and smoothly, just articulating through that whole movement. And then we'll switch directions. So that straight leg comes down to hover, knee comes into your chest, and then heel reaches toward the ceiling. Straight leg down to hover, knee to chest, heel to ceiling. Next time that straight leg comes up, we're going to find that internal and external rotation. So your knee and your toes stay pointing the same direction, and this is all happening right at your hip socket. So where your big femur bone joins your pelvis, and you're just externally rotating and internally rotating, just pivoting there. And notice if this left side is different than the right. And then find that 90-degree bend of your knee and just do the same thing. So you're just pivoting at your hip joint. So you're not moving at your knee. You're just kind of keeping your knees stacked and just pivoting here. And then find external rotation. So knee out to the left, your right heel is to the right. And then you can cross your left ankle over your right knee. Draw your shoulder blades together, push into that right heel. Lift your hips into your bridge with this figure 4 leg. And then lower down. Reach your arms overhead, so biceps by your ears, and just drop this configuration of your legs over to the right. So that left foot can come to the floor. You can energetically push that left knee away from you. Just get long through your left side. And come back up to center. Uncross both of your legs. And then we'll roll over to come to hands and knees. Just roll to one side. Come to your hands and your knees. And just a couple of times, just kind of steer your body in circles. Get into your wrists here. And if your wrists ever get tired when we're here on hands and knees, you can always come onto your fists and just have a different angle for your wrists. Lift your right leg straight behind you and try to keep your pelvis level so you're not tipping it up. Okay, and try to keep a neutral spine. So draw your lowest ribs in. Bend through your right knee, and then bring your right knee into your chest. I'm going to turn so you can see what I'm doing. And then you're going to take your right leg straight out to the side, and then your heel to the ceiling, and knee back into your chest. So you're drawing these really big circles with your knee. And then we'll switch directions. So now heel to the ceiling, knee out to the side, toward your armpit, and into your chest. Knee out to the side, toward your armpit, into your chest. Next time you come around, step that right foot forward, outside of your right hand. So you're in a low lunge. Then you can kind of move around, wiggle your hips from side to side. You can come up on your fingertips. And then you can play with straightening and bending that right leg. Any amount. And you can walk your hands with you. Next time you come to that bent knee, feel like you're pulling your left knee and your right heel toward each other to come upright and reach high in this low lunge. Tuck your back toes. And then lean halfway forward. Bring your hands alongside your hips. Ground into that left foot behind you and lift your left knee up off the floor. Now feel strong through this right heel. We're going to come to standing, balancing on our right leg. So you can just drag this left, so push into your right heel. Drag your left foot all the way forward, and we'll come to a straight left leg that's just hovering off the floor. Okay, so you're standing on your right. Just let your left foot hover. And then we'll turn like a little music box character. And so now your left toes are pointing to the left, and then come back to center. So this happens at this right hip joint as you turn out and back. And just pivot here. So we're doing that same internal, external rotation with that straight leg, but now we're loading it in a different way. Next time you turn to your left, bend into your right knee and take a big step back with your left foot. So now we're in a warrior 2. So my pelvis is open to the long edge of my mat here. Right heel draws a line to my left arch. Okay. And then open your arms. Now we're going to pivot into a high lunge. So we're going to find that internal rotation and lift your back heel. Now my pelvis is turning forward. And then ground that back heel and open out. And do that a few times. You can have your hands on your hips, or you could play arms straight overhead when you're in your lunge and open out in your warrior 2. So try that a few times. And your balance may be tricky, that's totally fine. We're just really playing with that deep work and articulation in those hip joints. Next time you get to your warrior two, you can just pause there. Bring your right forearm to your right thigh. Lengthen your left arm alongside your ear. And use some leverage of this right forearm to lengthen through your shoulder and neck. So your shoulder and neck aren't crunching toward each other. And then you're really long from that left heel out through your fingertips. Take one more breath. And then face down. Put your hands on the floor. And step back into a downward facing dog or just go straight to your table, hands and knees. And just kind of check in with your legs. And then come back to your table. Find those circles on the other side. So lengthen your left leg. Bend through that left knee. And then draw your low ribs in. So you're not dropping your belly down. You see that? Left knee into your chest, toward your armpit, out to the side, and then heel to the ceiling. Slow, big circles with that knee. So you're controlling all that movement, that range of motion in your hip joint. And then we'll switch directions. So heel to the ceiling, knee out to the side, toward your armpit, into your chest. Just do 3 that way. And the next time your leg comes around, step it outside your left hand and find that low lunge. You can wiggle around here. And you can play with bending and straightening that front leg. And if your hands need to be up higher, right, if it's just too much, and your leg doesn't have to come all the way straight, I just really want you to explore. This is a laboratory so that we can get more connected to this beautiful instrument and temple of our body. Next time your knee's bent, feel like you're pulling your heel and your knee toward each other and come upright. Reach your arms high, tuck that back toes. Bring your your hands towards your hips and lean partway forward. Lift your back knee, and then we'll come to that standing balance. Push into that left heel, come to standing, and just hover your right foot. And then like a little music box, we'll just open to the right and come back. So we've got this internal and external rotation happening in this standing leg. Next time you open out to your right, take that big step back to your warrior two. So this left knee is bent, drawing a line toward your right inner arch. Your toes are dialed in just a little bit. You can open your arms out. And then pivot, lift that back heel, and square your hips toward the front. And then ground that back heel and open. So you're playing with that internal and external rotation of your hip. Try to move slowly and with control. I'm just doing it from a different angle with a different kind of load. Next time you come open, bring your left forearm to your left thigh. Lengthen your right arm alongside your ear. Take a breath in here. And then cartwheel your hands to the floor. Step back. Lift your hips high. So we're in an upside down V, downward facing dog. And just breathe here. And just feel your breath. Remember those low rib, smooth breaths in and out of your nose. And then look up at the top of your mat and just take a walk to come to a standing forward fold. Inhale to halfway lift, bring your hands to your shins. Let your spine get really straight, parallel with the floor, and look forward. And then you can bend your knees a little bit and let yourself fold back down. Inhale yourself all the way to standing. Reach high. Exhale your hands to your heart. Inhale and reach high. Exhale, fold forward over your legs. Inhale, find that halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale to step your left foot back into a lunge, and then ground that left knee. Find that engagement of drawing your heel and your knee toward each other. Just notice how that engages through your core as you lift up. And then come halfway forward again. Hands alongside your hips. Tuck those back toes and float your back knee up off the floor. Really ground into that right heel. We'll come to standing, balance. See if maybe this time you can bring your left knee into your chest. So slide this left leg forward and lift your left knee. And flex through that left foot. And then just pivot on this with this right standing leg. Knee to the left and then back forward. And just do that a couple of times. And then we'll open out to the left and step back into that warrior two. So right knee bent. And you can open up your arms. Drop your left hand to your left thigh and reach through that right arm. And then from here, exhale. Right forearm to right thigh, left arm alongside your ear. You can stay here. Or maybe you could reach that right hand a little lower, grab onto your inner ankle. Right, but you want to think about the length in your spine. So deeper is not necessarily better. Just kind of listen to what feels like expansive and friendly and supported in your body. From here, bring your left hand to your left hip. Look down at your right toes, and then toe heel this left foot in just a little bit closer. And bring your right fingertips to the floor. Just kitty corner to the right of your right pinky toe. And then ground into this right heel. Slide your left leg in, and you can keep this knee bent. Float your left leg up off the floor. Maybe your right leg straightens, not necessary, but your hips are going to open to the side, and you're going to point like the inner arch of your foot is parallel with the floor. This is half moon pose. Maybe reach your left arm up toward the ceiling. And then bring your left hand back to your hip. Bend into that right knee. Look at the floor. And just step your left foot to meet your right foot. And bring your hands to your thighs. Shake that out. And then let yourself fold. Just check in the difference from your right side to your left. Inhale all the way to standing. Exhale, hands to your heart. Inhale and reach high. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Inhale to step your right foot back into a lunge and ground your right knee to the floor. Find that drawing of your knee and each other. Lift yourself up. Tuck your back toes. Halfway forward, bring your push to that heel. Float your back knee up off the floor. And then ground into that left heel. Lengthen that left leg as you drag your right foot in. And then you'll find that external rotation a few times here. Turning that right knee to the right. Keeping your left foot grounded So you're moving from deep in that left hip. Open yourself out to the right. Step your right foot back and find your warrior two. Drop your right hand, lift your left arm up, and then exhale. Find your side angle pose. Root down into that right heel, lengthen out through your fingertips. If you reached down a little lower on the first side, you can do that. And then right hand to your right hip. Look down at your left foot. And just bring your left fingertips kitty corner to the left of your left pinky toe. Ground into this left heel and use that strength to slide that right foot in and maybe hover. Any amount, okay? And you could always do this like with a chair here or something to put your hand on to help your balance. Maybe you straighten both legs. That right inner arch is parallel with the floor. And open. Take one more breath. And then find your standing forward fold. And just shift your hips from side to side. You can have hands on your thighs. And then bend into your knees. And make your way all the way down to a seat. And you can sit on something. So you could sit on a chair and just sit with your sitting bones right on the edge of a chair so your spine can be tall. I've got a folded blanket here, and that helps. But this just helps with the position of your pelvis, okay? So you could be sitting on a chair, you could be sitting on some cushions from your couch, or you can sit on the floor if the back of your pelvis can be upright. So if you notice when you sit on the floor that your tailbone's tucking underneath you, then just help yourself out and find something to sit on to really honor the architecture of your body. And then find your right foot and just kind of rock it like a baby. So you can have one hand on your foot and one hand on your knee. If that's really easy for you, you could try maybe bringing your foot into the crook of your elbow. All right, so like the young women that are doing this with us may be able to do that. You could even maybe just hook forearms underneath. But just think of having a tall spine and just rocking that leg and getting into that hip. And then from there, take your right foot and just cross it outside of your left knee. Now, if you're sitting up in a chair, just cross your foot over your knee, like that, okay? And then hug this right knee with your left arm and twist to your right. You're gonna wrap your elbow around. But think of this length through your spine, from your tailbone up through the crown of your head. And that's what you're twisting around. And then take your chin and look over your front shoulder. Maybe look down at that right foot. But lengthen through your right arm behind you and just stretch your neck there. And then unwind your twist. Lengthen your right leg in front of you and just bend your left knee. So if you're sitting up on a chair, you'll just lengthen your right leg long and your left knee can just be bent foot flat on the floor. And then lengthen through your spine. Your knee and your toes are going to point straight in the same direction, and then let yourself fold. Think about bending here at your hip crease and not folding at your belly or your back. So we don't want to overtax this lumbar spine. So try to think of sending your tailbone behind you as you fold. And you want to feel this the most in the back of that right leg. And just one breath at a time. Inhale and exhale. Inhale yourself back up. Bend that right knee. And we'll find that baby cradle of your left leg. So you can hold on to your left foot with your right hand and your left knee with your left hand and just rock. But just kind of massage through that hip joint that we moved and loaded in different ways. And then maybe you could hook your forearms under, but think of the integrity, especially in that lower back. Or maybe outer foot into the crook of your elbow. When I think of my hips especially, I think of that connection to my grandmothers and their sturdy pioneer bodies that survived coming across the plains. Let's find our twist. So take this left foot, plant it outside your right knee, and then you can hug that left knee in with your right forearm and twist around. Think of the length through your spine. And see if you can just thank your body and thank the grandmothers and the grandfathers. Who were humans with weaknesses and experiences and tragedies and triumphs. And in a very real way, those memories are a part of who you are. Go ahead and turn and look over your front shoulder and lengthen through that back arm. Breathe in and out of your nose, just really naturally. You don't need to try to control or lengthen your breath. And unwind your twist. Lengthen this left leg. Your right foot's toward your left inner thigh. And then lengthen your spine. And see, my sitting bones are just right on the edge of my blanket, and that just helps give my pelvis a little bit of a tilt. If your knee needs to be bent, you can bend your knee. Really think about the length in the back of this leg and integrity in your spine. You can lead with your heart and send your tailbone behind you, but then do it in a way that's not really rigid. Let there be some softness in the way that you treat your body. Often we try to change or sculpt, and we find movement as a means for manipulating or punishing our bodies. But my invitation to you is that we use this as a time to honor, to find gratitude, compassion for all the work that your body does, and for those ancestors that made you, for this miracle that you get to be a part of. It's so wondrous and beautiful. And go ahead and come upright and bend through that left knee. And for the last few minutes, you can find a comfortable seat for a seated meditation. Just thinking about that integrity in your spine. Okay, freedom in your breath. So letting your pelvis be high enough that it doesn't feel super taxing here in your hip joints, and your knees about the same height as your hips or lower. So you can sit on a chair or sit on a stack of pillows, or you can come down to lay on your back, just like we started. And let yourself relax, laying on your back. Letting yourself take up as much space as your body needs to really settle and feel comfortable. And let your palms face up, whether you're sitting upright or laying down. Let your palms face up. Again, a gesture of receptivity. And notice how your fingers just gently curl in a cupping shape. What gifts from your ancestors do those hands hold? And feel your heartbeat. And feel your breath breathe itself. You don't need to do anything to change or manipulate your breath. Just let yourself settle into it. And it can get shallow. It does not need to be deep. Just let it feel really easy and natural. Completely relax your face. And starting with your feet, just thank your body. Think of the things that your feet do. And thank you, feet. And thank your ankles and calves and knees and your thighs. Thank you, legs. And bring your awareness to your pelvis, to those hip joints that we explored today, to all the contents of your pelvis, this place of elimination and creativity. And just say thank you. Bring awareness to your belly, everything happening inside your belly, to the muscles and the flesh all around your belly. Thank you, belly, for taking care of me, for connection to the future and the past. You can feel your rib cage expanding, feel your lungs moving, feel your diaphragm moving up and down, feel your heart beating. And thank you. Feel your shoulders and the whole length of your arms and hands. These instruments of action, of service, of embracing. And just offer some thanks to your arms and your hands and your shoulders. And bring your awareness to your neck, to your skull, to your ears, your eyes, your nose, and your mouth. What miraculous, amazing instruments you're blessed with. And thank you. Just bring your whole body into your awareness. You can let a slight smile come to the inside of your mouth. Really feel that glowing sense of gratitude in your heart space. let that heart turn to the Father's. If you're laying on your back, you can gently bend your knees, roll to one side, push yourself up to a seat, or you can stay there for as long as you'd like. Thank you, friends, for practicing with me. I hope you carry this gratitude and connection into the rest of your day.